welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Hello, I talk about books and writing, and today I am talking about Fortuna Sworn by KJ Sutton. This is the first book of the Fortuna Sworn series, and before I get into this, before I talk about what the plot is, got a bit of housekeeping. Trigger warnings. This book does talk about loss of parents, kidnapping, abuse and slavery. They are just a couple of them. There's a few more. I'm not going to get into the details of any of it, by the way, and I'm going to more be talking about how this was written rather than the actual plot itself. So this is going to be pretty spoiler free. If you want to read this book after you've watched this video, go and check. It does have content warnings in it. They are at the back. I didn't realise until after I bought the book. But yeah, there is a little list. It's not a huge, massive list. It's quite small. And I think I mentioned most of them. And some of them, looking at it, I was like, I don't even remember it in the book, but not important. Let's just get into the basic outline. Let's overview of the story. Fortuna Sworn is a nightmare. This is not me stealing up, is not jump scare. Gavex is a nightmare. She actually is. Now, a nightmare means that she is this mythical creature who, when she touches someone, she can see their worst fears. And she can make them think they're living them. Which I think is a really cool idea, by the way. Now, she lost her parents in quite a grisly way when she was about 8. And her brother was kidnapped about 2 years before the start of the book. And she's trying to find him. And she ends up being noticed by the king of the Unseelie court. She doesn't realise he's the king at the time. She just knows he is a fairy. And he offers her marriage to help her find her brother and to help get him away, because he knows where her brother is. And that's the crux of the story. And it does also go into like these trials that she has to do because she wants to become the queen, and they were fine. Unfortunately, that's the best I can do. Now, here's the thing. This book is marketed as a fantasy romance or a romantasy. I didn't get that. This book felt like a grimdark. Like, properly felt like a grimdark novel, which I'm fine with because I'll level with you. I love grimdark. You know, if Joe Abercrombie writes it, you can bet your butt cheeks I'm going to read it because I absolutely adore everything he writes. Heck, I'd probably read his grocery list if I got a fighting chance. You know, that's the author where if he writes it, I'm reading it. And I really like urban fantasy as well, which has quite dark elements. This is not an urban fantasy because most of the book happens in the Unseelie court, and prior to that, I think he lives in more like a town. It's not urban fantasy. So I should have loved this book, and yet I didn't. So here's the thing. If you haven't read any grimdark, because look, grimdark, to let you know, it's an offshoot of fantasy where no one's getting a happy ending. If by some miracle the character survives to the end of the story, you know, and they get everything they think they wanted, it's always a real monkey's paw of a wish. Everything comes at a price. Everything comes with a harsh dose of reality. And I freaking love it. Now you might be thinking, why would I read such dark stuff? Especially since when you consider I read rom-coms and cozy fantasy primarily. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. If you haven't read any grimdark, one, if you want an intro into it, go and read The Blade itself. The whole First Law trilogy is just stellar. But I'm going to let you in a little secret about grimdark. It is quite bleak. It is also really bloody funny. Good grimdark has a healthy vein of humour the whole way through. It might be gallows humour, which might not be your thing. It is mine. But that humour is what carries you through all of the darkness and the harshness and the cold, hard realities that these characters are facing. And you need it. Urban fantasy and grimdark need a decent dose of humour because something has to break the unrelenting misery. And here's the thing, and I actually wrote the slight little script for this video before I went to see my best friend. I went over to see my best friend and we actually had a chat about the book. And he said exactly what I'm going to say next about this. Is that to have no humour whatsoever doesn't feel realistic. Because look, even in our darkest moments, we try and find the funny. Now, I say this as someone with PTSD. 10 years ago this summer, I was in the worst depression of my life. I couldn't be left on my own. Things were bad. And I turned to my best friend and said, I need to find a joke in here. I need to find something funny to take the power away from what was done to me, to give it back to myself. If I can laugh at it, I can find the light and I can follow that light through and I'm going to be okay. And I did. With the help of my best friend, I did. I found that funny and that I laughed for the first time in months and everything was okay. We use humour as a survival technique. So for it to be completely removed from this and every page just like banging you over the head, going, misery, everything sucks, it's a lot. And the reality is I just became so numb to it. It didn't elicit any real emotion anymore because I was just like, oh, yeah, everything's bad. That I open this book and everything sucks now. It's too much and it's not realistic. Even, it happens all throughout life. You see the people who get better use humour. The people who survive horrible things use humour. At some point they laugh to get through. And yeah, it's an important thing. The other thing was there's a lot happens in this book. Like, it is constant from the first page. It just throws you in with bad things happening and bad thing happen, bad thing happen, bad thing happen. And yeah, I was bored. I don't quite get this. Like, for a book where so much happened right from the first page. I mean, I got through the first 50 pages and yeah, okay, the main story was starting up and that was fine, but I just didn't feel that engaged, and maybe it was just the constant ugh, everything's bad. And, I made it halfway through and was like, okay, you're halfway through, you may as well crack on. I got another 50 pages in and was like, this is not it. This pacing feels just kind of weird. And it was constant shit happening till the very last page. And it just felt kind of flat. Even the big high drama things. I don't know. Something about it almost felt like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. And there was no peaks and troughs. It was all just this flat line of everything sucks, everything miserable, everything hard, woe is me. And that, eventually you are just numb to it. And this book had me numb, and I just wasn't excited. Nothing really grabbed me and pulled me in. I was just like, woman, Jesus, I get it. Everything sucks and you don't want to be here and you want to save your brother and everything's awful. I get it. But Jesus Christ, crack one joke. One. You'll feel better for it. Trust me. And yeah, because it was constant, and even in the last sort of 40 pages, suddenly something else got introduced and then this happened and there's all these things happening. And I was like, okay, ease it back because we're coming to the end of the book. I know that you're going to springboard into the next book, which I'm not going to be reading, by the way. It felt too much. It felt like it was really out with its pacing as well as just being very flatly written. And the other thing was, this does have a couple of elements that are common-ish tropes in romantasy, from what I can gather, because I've had bad luck with romantasy. If you do have a romantasy recommendation, please drop it in the comments below because I am gagging for a good romantasy. I love fantasy. I love romance. I need to marry the two. I'm thinking Paladin's Grace. So, if you've read Paladin's Grace and you can, tell me whether it's a good one or not, let me know in the comments below if it's a good one. Try and avoid spoilers, but, just let me know if it's any good. So, romantasy tropes. This has got them. It's got the virgin heroine. And I don't know why. Because, honestly, there is one slightly spicy-ish scene. And, yeah, it was less than half a page. It was kind of blink and you miss it. And you could easily skip it. And, if that's your kind of thing, you don't mind reading about people getting disemboweled, but you do have an issue with sex. That's on you. That's fine. I don't care. But why was she a virgin? Why was this important, aside from the fact that we've got this weird thing that, you're worth more if you're pure or, untouched or whatever it is. not my jam, not my vibe. I didn't get it. If I felt like it had something to do more with the plot, I probably would have been more on board with it and less like, are you fucking kidding me? But it didn't, and here we are. And yeah, really, why was she a virgin? It added nothing to the telling of the story. It didn't feel important. The other thing with Fortuna is she's very impulsive. And she's none too bright with it. And the thing is, she's self-aware enough to know, if this was a horror film, I'd be shouting at the screen that the character's an idiot. And yet you are still doing it with full awareness you're being an idiot. And that I found quite frustrating. Now, I have just ragged on this book for about 10 minutes. I'm going to say this. One, with my aphantasia, sometimes fantasy can get very bogged down in details. This did not, like, there wasn't like list after list of like deep descriptions of places. There was enough to colour it, but there wasn't so much that I was like, oh God, I've just read like half a page of description and I don't know what's going on anymore. That was kind of cool. I did like that. It did have a couple of twists that I did not see coming, which again, I was like, oh snap, you got me there. I like it. That was cool. There was one or two things I found a bit predictable and yeah, I did see coming. But, you know, I don't think that's a detriment to the book. And I'm amazed I could see anything coming because I really was at one point just like, I think my eyes were scanning the page. The words were kind of going in, but they weren't really like penetrating much deeper than they should have been. And it was fine. It does end on a cliffhanger. It does clearly bounce straight into the next book. You know, and I'm not going to read it. Okay, I'll level with you. I did go and look up like how the story goes, and I was like, okay. I didn't feel like compelled enough to go like, actually, yeah, no, the next book sounds better. I just thought the next book sounds kind of more of the same, and I just wasn't in the mood for it. So yeah, I am going to be trying again with Romantasy. I'm not going to be giving up so easily. But yeah, look, that's kind of all I got for you today. So, if you like this video, do give it a like. If you are not subscribed, do give me a subscribe. It massively helps out my channel. Thank you so much for watching to the end. It does mean the world to me. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.